Let's start our first career panel. Florida offers more than you think, to learn about Florida's high-tech, high-growth economy.
All right, hello everyone. I'm Amy Entris, and I'm the Entrepreneurship Program Manager for Veterans Florida, and I'm also a Navy veteran. So welcome to our career panel. Florida offers more than you think. So thank you all for joining us today. So I will start with you, Ms. Medina, to introduce yourself, please.
Yes, my name is Beth Medina. I'm the Vice President of Military and Defense Programs at Enterprise Florida. I'm also an Army veteran of 33 years. Happy to say that I selected Florida at the end of my career for many, many reasons that we'll get to talk about today.
Wonderful. Thank you. Dr. Parrish?
Yes, I'm Jerry Parrish. I'm the Chief Economist and Director of Research at the Florida Chamber Foundation. And I've been an economist a long time. I look at Florida's labor markets, among other things, and write a lot of research reports and talk about the Florida economy.
Terrific. Thank you. Ms. Smallridge?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name again is Kelly Smallridge, and I serve as the chair of the Florida Economic Development Council, which is a group of many economic development professionals throughout the state of Florida. And our association educates, advocates, and connects the economic development industry professionals for all 67 counties. We work very closely with the Florida Chamber and with Enterprise Florida to bring jobs to this state.
Wonderful. Thank you. Mr. Santonzi?
Okay, I'm Phil Santonzi with Florida Makes. I'm the Director of Client Engagement Services. Florida Makes is the Florida member of the National MEP Network, which is the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, a federal program with a mission to help manufacturers improve their business productivity and technical performance. I too am a veteran. I retired from the Coast Guard many years ago, and happened to be in South Florida at my last duty station, and this is where I stay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, all of you. It's a pleasure having you on our panel, and we really look forward to sharing your insight and anything that you deem as important to our audience. So thank you very much for being here today. So we'll go ahead and get started with our questions. And like I said before, feel free to have a discussion about it and volunteer whenever you feel you would like to speak. So I think we'll be okay in terms of not recording over each other. So I think we're all used to it by now. So, all right, so we'll get started with our first question, which is, what industries are booming in Florida and what kind of high wage jobs are available?
Clearly, from our side on the military and defense programs, the space program has encouraged an awful lot of aviation and aerospace industries. And so we've seen aviation industries take off. Leonardo in Pace, Florida was just awarded a large contract, but that goes all the way across the upper portion of Florida down into the panhandle, of course, towards Space Coast. So it's not just what you would imagine around Space Coast, but the entire state of Florida has a lot of the feeder industries. And one of the great statistics that came out of a study we did this past year, the economic impact study from military and defense programs, was that manufacturing, we're fourth largest in the United States for U.S. defense contracts, and 52% of those contracts are in manufacturing. So you can imagine that's quite a growing industry for us in the state of Florida.
Yes, exactly. And manufacturing is one of the biggest industries in Florida, as well as training and simulation and cybersecurity, tech, logistics, and aerospace. And of course, I have to throw in agriculture. So it's near and dear to my heart, as you can see. So yeah, so Dr. Parrish, is there anything you would like to comment on about that?
Sure. One of the things we've recently done at the Florida Chamber Foundation is to complete a report. We actually got some funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and we came out with a report called Florida Jobs 2030. And it picks 5 of those industries that are targeted industries that the legislature has decided to try to increase in the state of Florida. Manufacturing has already been mentioned. Things like aerospace and aviation certainly is one of them. Others include healthcare, professional services, and finance, and as well as logistics and distribution. And the great things about those industries are not only that they are growing and planning, expected to grow in Florida, they provide entry points, no matter what your education level, from high school degree, associate's degree, certifications, bachelor's degree. So there are ways to get into these industries, the ones that are expected to grow, and a way to improve your skills and move up and get better and better jobs in those industries.
Okay, thank you. Now, continuing with that idea, that topic, would you please discuss some industries that our audience might not be aware of that exist in the state of Florida?
Certainly.
Well, if I could give that a shot, if you don't mind. There are, there's quite a diversity of the kinds of manufacturers all around the state. There are concentrations in, of course, the Central Florida corridor, and in South Florida, and in other parts of the state as well. And we at Florida Makes, work with all of them, basically. I mean, we have helped manufacturers across all industries, whether in aerospace or biomedical, or just in pure fabrication type of businesses, food processing, you name it, and we've seen it. We've worked with them, even large scale nursery type of operations. Although you don't normally think of that as manufacturing, they're here as well, as you can imagine, on the agriculture side.
Mm-hmm. Ms. Smallridge?
Certainly, thank you. So I would also add that in addition to aviation, manufacturing, technology, financial services, logistics, and trade, one that is also growing in our state is life sciences and healthcare technology. Florida has about 26 large biotech companies. We're the second largest medical device state in the country, and 220 pharmaceutical companies. And as Jerry mentioned, several of these industries that we've talked about, and of course this is in addition to the traditional industries of tourism, real estate, agriculture, and construction. These 6 industries also allow for our residents in Florida to apply for jobs with all different types of degrees, high school, 2-year, 4-year, and beyond. So while Florida is very well known for being a tourism state, we're very fortunate, especially among these times, that Florida is a very diverse state when it comes to the type of industries and types of jobs that Florida provides.
That's a really excellent point. Thank you for bringing that up. It's really important to our audience too, because as you all know, there's a wide range of educational backgrounds and military experience. So it's good to know that there are many different types of opportunities here in Florida. So appreciate you bringing out that point. To continue with that thought, how do veterans and transitioning service members fine-tune their skill set and use their military experience to transition into a career in one of Florida's growing industries?
I'll start if you don't mind.
Sure.
One of the things that the employers I talk to, they really appreciate about veterans coming into the workforce is their leadership skills and their discipline. So they actually start with a leg up compared to some other people out there in the job market. So I think it's their opportunity to get out, show the skills that they have, because those are 2 of the most highly prized skills out there in the job market. And we know from some of our other research is, it's great to have different kinds of skills, but it's those personal skills that really help people get into the job market, help them sell themselves, and help them sell their company when they get in there. So, people from hospitality, do well. People from with military backgrounds do well, and employers have figured out that they can help someone get a technical skill that they may need to do that job at that business but many of them are willing to do that if they find the right person that they believe is going to fit in with their organization.
Now, we've worked with many companies that that seek out veterans specifically for jobs, and the ones that I've noticed that haven't really don't know and don't understand, the kind of skills, the breadth of and depth of the skills and the knowledge that veterans can bring to their companies. As Dr. Parrish said, it's not just the skills that they bring. They are throughout their entire careers in the military, no matter how long or how short. At every step of the way, every promotion, there are leadership aspects that are tied into their knowledge base, and they really know how to be part of a team, how to lead teams, and how to solve problems. And that's what the manufacturers are looking for, in addition to the skills themselves.
I think some things that can be helpful too for individuals who might be transitioning off of active duty or who are retiring is to look around in the industry and see what certifications are required. Florida is really supportive to our retirees and veterans, our transitioning military. We have a lot of easing of fees and registration requirements. We have a lot of portability and licensure requirements, and that's both for the service member as well as the family. So doing some research, honing in on what industry you want to transition into, and then looking at how your skills can transition. Florida probably has a way to help you translate those skills or make sure that your licensure transitions. But if not, the university system in Florida is also super supportive. And, by taking a couple of courses to really refresh your perhaps terminology, you can make sure that you're really at the cutting edge as you go for those interviews in the specific industry of your choice.
Mm-hmm. So that's a good point, because a lot of times, especially in our organization, we receive inquiries about how to get started. It's just a whole new world, and it's usually pretty unfamiliar to our veterans and transitioning service members. So, and we assist as best as we possibly can in career services, entrepreneurship training, agriculture training, and we have an employee grant as well set up to assist with hiring our veterans. But if you could give our veterans a piece of advice, what's the first step?
So Amy, I would add that there are a couple of resources that I think most people do not know about in terms of getting a job and then the skill sets. The first would be, no matter what county you go through in the state of Florida, there are two entities that are extremely helpful in terms of finding a job and being trained for that job. In terms of finding a job, you can go to any county economic development board website or go to Enterprise Florida's website, and you will find press releases on the latest companies that are either moving their business from outside of the state or expanding within the county. And that gives you a good handle of where the jobs are. The second piece is in every county, and that is called an economic development board. Enterprise Florida, but then there's a county economic development board. The second piece is to go to your local career source. In every county or in every region, there's a career source. That career source not only has a list of local jobs available in that county, but they also have programs that are available for training, whether it's knowledge of aviation companies that are looking to do on-site training and hire, or whether it's your local community or state college that has some training courses or certifications in a couple of industries, because they're so closely tied to the companies. The state college also has a handle on jobs being created. So there are traditional means of going through a headhunter or going through an employment agency, but there's some free resources, including the Economic Development Board and Career Source, that I think are very, very helpful and on point and up-to-date information.
Mm-hmm. If I could add to that, there are some resources that are available that are more specifically just to manufacturing, in addition to what we just heard. There's a website, madeinflorida.org, that's run by the Florida Advanced Technological Education Center, and there's a lot of good information in there for job seekers. It talks about all of the colleges, the state colleges that offer manufacturing education programs, and with contact names and emails in there to get in touch. The state and the community colleges around Florida are another good resource, not just for information about some careers, but also for the education and the skills. There's a certification called the CPT, Certified Production Technician. That's a very, it's a basic indoctrination into what manufacturing companies look like, in terms of manufacturing processes and procedures, safety, quality, and maintenance. It gives an individual who may not have any experience in manufacturing before a very good picture of what a manufacturing operation looks like, and what that's like, and it provides some of the skills that you actually might not even find people, with people who are already employed in some of the companies. So it gives a leg up, for somebody who's got that certified production technician, paper, and it helps even towards some of the college programs. As the engineering technology degree, an AS degree program at about 21 or 22 of the 28 colleges in the state that offer this, and it's a very standardized program. In fact, if you go to one of those programs and you've already got that CPT, that certification, you automatically, get credit for 15 out of the 60 credits that are required for the 2-year degree. So there are quite a lot of those kinds of resources as well that are focused on manufacturing and manufacturing education, as well as others, which I can talk about a little bit later.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I would just have to add another really important way to go about it is using your network. And we have a really strong network in the military. So I definitely want to encourage all of our veterans to use that network, and don't be afraid to reach out and discuss what you need and how you can provide value to whichever employer that you're reaching out to. So, okay.
Networking,
So
if I may, and networking is one of the most important pieces of really getting out there to understand, to learn what's out there, and to be able to make inroads into the workforce, into the manufacturing workforce. And ask for help, like you said. You're one of those resources, but ask for help not only on who's out there and what's available, but also how to translate your skills into skills that are understandable by the civilian manufacturers. You may be a gunner's mate, or sonar tech, and that may not mean anything to a manufacturing employer. But there are plenty of technical skills within both of those rates, within both of those ratings, that convert into the civilian world and are appreciated by the manufacturers.
Mm-hmm. And you're speaking my language, some Navy terminology there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but you're absolutely correct. A lot of times we have veterans coming to us, and we offer resume building services, and we have to definitely help them translate those skill sets and certifications received in the military and make them relevant to our job force here in Florida. So it's really critical to be able to clearly communicate what your background is, your experience, and like I said before, how you can be of value to that employer as well. So, and that also leads us to the next question. So we're interested in helping our veterans homestead in the state of Florida. We want them to, like you, Ms. Medina, you came out of the military and you made Florida your home. Actually, I've done the same thing. So, and I guess Mr. Santonzi, you did too. So, we want to help our veterans do that as well. So with that being said, how do you recommend that a veteran pursues their job search, also keeping in mind their family and their spouse, and making sure that they also are being taken care of? I
think that's the good news about Florida's support to the military. Florida's support to the military isn't just for the service member or just the veterans. It's for everybody. It's service members, veterans, families. The list of programs and laws and bits that I mentioned earlier is in a publication that we do called the Military Friendly Guide, Florida's Military Friendly Guide. And it really is amazing when you look through that guide to see over the decades the numbers of programs and policies and laws that Florida has realized are needed to support our veterans, their families, and active duty service members. So there's some items in that guide that talk about home ownership and some of the benefits to living post-military service in Florida. And it is often related to jobs and careers and the other benefits of being a community member. And so again, I think Kelly Smallridge mentioned the Enterprise Florida site. It's clearly on that site. But even the governor's most recent program for military homeownership is an example of there are so many ways that Florida wants to support our military families and veterans. It's a matter of finding that information. So talking with other veterans, picking an area that is conducive to your industry of choice. You'll find family support systems all the way across Florida. So it really is almost personal preference. You know, if you prefer to be in South Florida, where Mr. Santonzi is, or up in North Florida, where I am, or Tallahassee, we really have a lot for whatever you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree. It's kind of hard to choose actually where to make your home. So I guess it all depends on, you know, I guess finding your job and then finding schools and whatnot and building your life from there. So are there any other resources that you all would like to discuss that exist to help our veterans make Florida their home?
I'd like to reiterate things that were already said. Certainly, the business boards, the Career Source Florida, and the state college system is excellent. You know, actually, we've got the top state college system in the entire country. Our two-year colleges outrank every single organization. Don't forget also the local chambers. Especially if you're thinking about locating in a smaller town or rural area, the local chambers are involved with every single business in most cases are around. And I think most people are surprised at this when I say this, but they shouldn't be. You have to understand in Florida, a lot of the leaders, the CEOs and the CFOs and the higher ranking individuals in companies actually have military backgrounds. It's certainly the case in a lot of the companies that we deal with at the Florida Chamber. And it's because, you know, of those leadership skills that they end up making it to the top in a lot of cases. So don't be afraid to go and just walk into your local chamber, tell them, hey, you know, I'm interested in moving to this area. I'm about to, you know, get out of the military. We'd love to make this place a home. What do you have? I will guarantee you that, you know, we all understand the economic impact of military families and how positive it is, not only for the economy, but also for the community, because they're typically the ones that are, you know, coaching, you know, baseball and coaching basketball and highly involved in the community. I think almost everybody in Florida understands that. And you'd get a lot of help from almost every local chamber that I can think of here in the state of Florida.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good advice. Thank you. Every community definitely has many resources available, and it's just a matter of, like I think you said, Ms. Medina, just going in and using those resources. And like you said, Dr. Parrish, don't be afraid. I mean, they're there, they exist to help. So make sure you take advantage of those. So Is there anything else that Dr. or Mr. Santonzi, did you have something?
Yeah, there's another type of organization that's again, that's specifically for manufacturing. It's the regional manufacturers associations all around the state. There are about 14. They're in the city, mostly in the city areas, although they do cover, you know, in going into the rural parts of Florida as well, because there are manufacturers there. And those regional associations have members who are manufacturers. They conduct events, you know, that where members and outsiders, anyone, you know, looking, just trying to find more out about manufacturing can attend. Of course, with the COVID-19 situation, that's a little bit altered right now, but there are still the online opportunities for that networking. And again, networking being very important, but understanding what types of manufacturers are in the area. You know, at many of the events, companies are showing off their wares, so to speak. They bring in, you know, they'll have a table with the types of product that they make. And like I said earlier, very diverse. It's across all industries within the manufacturing sector.
Mm-hmm. Are there any particular industries in your individual regions that you would like to highlight a bit more for our audience today?
I would add that someone mentioned it earlier. Our aviation, aerospace, and engineering cluster in the state of Florida is very robust and probably most likely in need of people to fill the jobs that are available. And I would think that that's a smooth transition for our veterans. And I'm not just talking about from the aviation side or the military side. I'm talking about 20 commercial service airports just in the state of Florida, and 130 airports, 1,700 aviation establishments. And in Florida, we're very fortunate to have big names such as Lockheed, Sikorsky, Pratt Whitney, Carrier, all throughout this state creating jobs. I know that in Jacksonville, there was a most recent aviation aerospace company that moved there. Of course, what we saw over the weekend at the spaceport at NASA, and that program certainly taking great shape. That's just one that when you look at Florida, you don't often hear about it, but Florida is very ripe and has great jobs available in aviation, aerospace, and engineering.
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course, you mentioned what just happened on the Space Coast, and I just want to know how I can get my hands on one of those really cool spacesuits. They've come a long way, and I really like them, so I think it might be kind of comfortable, and especially going out to the grocery store. So if anyone knows how we can get one of those, let me know. But Ms. Smallridge, you do bring up really good points. You know, some of the statistics that we've gathered to share with our audience, there are 13,000 unfilled positions in cybersecurity right now, 30,000 plus careers in training and simulation, 20,000 plus companies in manufacturing, logistics, 87,000 careers, aerospace, which you mentioned, 2,000 companies, also about 87,000 Floridians employed in that right now. And in tech, we're the #1 high-tech employment in the Southeast region. So with that being said, I feel like, you know, we've stated this already, but there's lots of opportunities in the state of Florida. So it's just a matter of figuring out which one is best suited for you and just getting started. So
that brings up a good point too, that you know, when we think of manufacturing, or when some people think of manufacturing, they might think, you know, production floor, you know, greasy, oily, dirty. And manufacturing companies nowadays are not necessarily like that. There are many, you know, especially in aviation and aerospace and biomedical and food processing, that are you know, clean environments, very clean environments. And there are other kinds of jobs besides the production type of job. You know, there are other support. You need the IT people, you know, the communications, the information technology. You do need the engineering and the research and development type of skills, you know, to be able to support the company. So if you're in manufacturing, doesn't necessarily mean that you're in production. That's where a lot of technical skills are required, but technical skills are also required in other parts of a manufacturing company, you know, in order to support the production floor area.
mm-hmm.
And I would like to highlight an item we've touched on, but the modeling and simulation capacity is growing. And so, of course, our National Modeling and Simulation Center in Team Orlando is doing some really exciting things. The future in Florida is technologically oriented and on the cutting edge. What they do for Disney is what they're doing for the military. And, you know, if anything you can imagine is probably occurring for many facets, the entertainment industry, but also military and defense. So any of those veterans who are interested would easily have a leg up on understanding the customer for sure. And if it's anything that requires a clearance, they'd have that easy portability again of their military skills into that industry. That seems to me, if I were younger, you know, I can just imagine what a great career that would be. So again, another exciting industry in Florida.
Ms. Medina, it's never too late.
Yeah. And I would second that, not just the manufacturing, but the modeling and simulation. I've watched that industry grow here in the state of Florida. It's phenomenal what's happening. But overall, I think Florida is an opportunity. Before the COVID-19 thing hit, Florida was growing 1 out of every 11 jobs in the United States. And that's been since 2015. We're growing about 900 net new people a day moving to this state. We're a more than $1.1 trillion economy. And most people don't think about Florida like that. You know, if Florida was an independent country, we'd be the 17th largest economy in the world. And so as we recover from COVID-19, you got to remember, you know, over half the jobs that were lost were in leisure and hospitality. We had almost no loss in a couple of categories. There were small losses in manufacturing, almost zero losses in construction. And so we're well on the way to recovery for a lot of the state of Florida, and we'll be back to the growing that 1 out of every 11 jobs in the country before long. And I think that's going to provide a lot of opportunity for people who are getting ready to get into the workforce here in the state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point. We saw some really interesting trends over the last few months, and everybody, I think, is still hedging their bet in terms of what's going to happen in the next few months. But everybody is hopeful that things will progress and will continue a recovery quickly. So that's everything that I have for us to discuss today. So if there's anything else that anyone would like to comment on, or any more information you'd like to provide our audience, we can do that now. Otherwise, we can call it a wrap.
My last comment is the reason why we retired here. Not only is there great work, the industries here, but we also have that gorgeous weather. So I just can't imagine putting the facets of your life together better than, you know, somewhere in Florida, which is, you know, we all smile. Why? Because we're here working in Florida. So don't forget that aspect. It's not all work when we have plenty of fun too.
Well, and you also, when you move to Florida, there's no state tax on personal income. So if you're transferring from another state, the chance is pretty likely that you're being taxed. So you get an automatic increase in your salary, and the whole cost of living is significantly more affordable in Florida than many other states.
Yes, that is a great point, and I'm really glad you brought that out, Ms. Smallridge, because that's very appealing to many of our veterans who are looking to make Florida their home. So it's definitely a huge benefit. So, all right. Well, thank you very much to all of you for participating on our career panel, and we look forward to seeing more of you in the future. And with that being said, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. So thank you very much.